Here you go, the first look of our 2048 game. Nice and clean our board, and initially 2 and 2 are spawned, and then we move. As you can see, as soon as we do any movement, I press up, we move up. I press right, we move right. I press down, we move bottom, and I press left, we move left. So let's keep on playing and keep on adding. So 8, and then it becomes 16, and 16, and again 8. And hello guys, in this video we'll build 2048 game using Rust. 2048 is a recent game specially for mobile devices. 2048 is a tiles game where initially 2 tiles are spawned with number 2, and on press of arrow keys you can spawn 1 tile at a time, and you can also merge 2 tiles if they are the same numbers. And every time you merge a multiple of 2, because on the addition of 2 tiles a multiple of 2 is generated. For example, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128, and it goes on and on until you cannot generate any more tiles, or you cannot spawn any new tiles, and you cannot merge tiles as well. That's when the game is over, and the tile with the maximum multiple of 2 is basically your score. So in this specific video we are building that game for desktop application. We'll be using Macroquad, so you can also build your application for iOS and Android or web, but we'll just build it for desktop as part of this video. So if you haven't played it already, no worries, we'll build it today and play our own game. So make sure you hang tight and watch till the end. And as we start, there is a link to my Discord in description, so make sure to join it. So first of all, make sure you have a nice and clean cargo project. And as you can see, our cargo terminal is empty. So let's go ahead and add a dependency that we need, which is Macroquad. Okay, so as you can see, the crate is added, and we can, as you can see, the crate is added. Now we'll just add a game RS in our project where we'll add everything related to our game, and the logic to start our game will remain with main RS. So let's move to game RS. So first of all, we need a few constants. So const board size as u size 4, and then we need tile size. So by 4 we mean that we will be having a grid of 4 by 4, and then the tile size, so f32, and the tile size would be 100.0. and then we have the tile. So for tile we'll add an enum let's fix this, enum tile, and derive clone copy and partial eq. So once we have all that we need, now the tile could be empty or has a number, which could be 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128. So either the tile is empty or an enum number. And then we have a struct for game. So struct game board, and here we'll just do is title or tile, sorry, and board size and board size. So this is basically our board. And then the second thing that we need is game over, which initially will be false, but we need a boolean for that. So this is our struct, which is basically our game, and for this we need an impl. So impl game and new self let mutable game and board initially. So we initialize board with empty tiles, so tile empty, and board size and board size, so because it's a grid. And then initially our game over will be false. So that's for our initialization. Now, why do we make it mutable? Because we want to spawn tiles as well. So for now, let's return the game from here to complete our main, but we'll also spawn tiles here. So spawn tile pretty straightforward since we are dealing with a grid. So we have to just spawn some number there, a tile, but we have to ensure that it falls within the boundaries of the tile of the board. So mutable self and let empty tiles as vector of u size and self dot board dot iter dot enumerate and select map. So we are just trying to gather the empty tiles. So here we'll just do y row and so inside row dot iter dot enumerate dot filter and here we'll add our predicate, which is so we are just trying to find empty tile and we'll just say tile is equals to tile which is empty. That's what we are trying to find. And once we have it, and map move x and xy. So we gather and then finally we would like to collect these. So once we collected our empty tiles, we'll just say if let sum and x comma y is equals to empty tiles dot choose. For that we'll just do let tile value is equals to if now let's use our Macroquad. So here on top we need use Macroquad prelude star, and secondly we need Macroquad rent star. So these are two things that we need. And right here we want to randomly generate 2 or 4. As I mentioned, on each press of arrow keys you can either generate a 2 or a 4, and to make it bit random we'll use gen range. So gen range and low as let's say 0.0, high as 1.0 if our generated number is greater than 0.1. If that's the case, then we count as 2, else we count as 4. So that's as simple as that. And self dot board y x is equals to tile number tile value, and here we'll just say tile value. So we'll just set the tile value. So what happens here is we basically try to get the empty tiles, and from there we choose and we randomly decide either to generate a 2 or 4 by generating numbers between 0 and 1.0, and if the number is greater than 0.1 then every time we'll just say 2. But because we want to ensure that most times we generate 2, if you have played 2048, most times that new spawn tile is 222, so that's why the possibility of having a 4 is pretty low. Anyways, so that's our spawn tile, and now let's use it as well. So here we'll just say game dot spawn tile and game dot spawn tile. As I mentioned initially, when your game starts, you have two tiles spawn on your screen. So pretty straightforward, nothing complex up till now. Now let's go to the next things that we need to add. Now once we have spawn tile, we need our draw function where we can draw the board and the tiles on top of that with color for each tile as well. So let's say fn draw and self initially clear the background to black. So this is our window background, and then for y in board size, for x in board size, and we select each tile. So let tile and self board y x, and also we need to ensure this draw is public because we'll be accessing outside this impl as well. So once we have our tile, we need x position to spawn and y position. Now if you want your game to spawn at the middle of the screen, then we need to find the middle first. So for that, let's add some offset functions that tell us where to start from. So offset x and self f32, and here we just do is screen width from again monoquad macroquad and board size as f32 star tile size and divided by 2.0 because we want to start at the middle. Similarly, offset of y, so this one is by width. For x, we'll just say x for x height f32, and here straightforward screen height and board size as f32 into tile size and divide by 2. So straightforward, we get offset of x and y. Now let's do the positioning. So for positioning, since we have our x and y now, we'll just use this offset. So self dot offset x plus x as f32 into tile size. Let x y position self dot offset y plus y as f32 into tile size. So we have our x and y, and now we need color. So for color, we need to decide which number it is. So match tile, and right here, if tile is empty, then we want to color it as light gray. Light gray. And if tile is a number, let's say 2, then we want to use color from RGBA. So pretty straightforward. I just add all the colors here for 2, light color for light color, and then again depending on what colors the game show. 16 onwards I have like stick it to dark gray, but if you want to add any specific for 32, 64, 128, then feel free to just add right here. So once we have all the colors, we want to draw the rectangle now. So draw rectangle and pass x position, y position, and tile size as width and height, and color, which is something that we just add right here. So once we have drawn our color or draw our rectangle, we want to ensure to add the text. So if let tile as number value and tile. Let text is equals to well.toString, and let text width as measure text, and text none 30 and 1.0 width, and then we draw the text by passing in and text and x position plus tile size. So you want to ensure it's on the middle of your screen. Text width, middle of your tile actually. So similarly we do for y position plus tile size 2.0 plus 10.0, and finally we have font size and the color. So color would be black, and once we have color as well, we have drawn the text. That's literally all that we need in our draw function. One last thing that we need is to ensure that the game is not over, and if it is, we want to show some UI. So if game over, then draw text and game over, and we want to show it again in the middle. So screen width by 20 minus 60.0, screen height divided by 20, and font size as 50 and color as red. So that's for our game end. And so once we have our draw, we need another important function, which is game over. So to check is game over, and self bool for y and board size, for x and board size, and we just do if self dot board y x title, so tile empty. So still if we have any of the tile as empty, then just return false, because if there is empty tile, as I mentioned, the game can still continue. If x dot board size -1 and self dot board yx is equals to self dot board y x plus 1, then return false. And similarly, basically if we still have space, if board size -1 and self dot board y x is equals to self dot board y plus 1 x, return false. And if that's not the case, then if we are literally outside the loop already, then right here what we do is we return as true, or just add true. We don't need return anymore. So that's for our detecting if the game is over. Now let's try to test this part where we have is game over board, so at least something renders or not, just to check initial before we add the commands or what to do when press specific keys. So first of all, move all the way to the top, and we'll just make our struct public and new public, because we want to access these outside. So spawn we'll just leave as it is, offset draw is already public, and is game over is already public. So let's write it and move to main, and here async fn main and macroquad main, name of the window 2048, and here we'll just do let mutable game as game and new, and then we want to loop over, so loop, and if game dot is game over, if that's the case, then game dot game, actually let's write it here and move to game artist. We need to make sure that this thing is public, and move to main rs. Here make sure to add game over as true, and we'll just add our key detection here, but right now since we don't have a logic against it, so we'll just stick with as it is, and inside our loop we'll just do game dot draw, and then we'll just wait for the next frame. So we'll just do is next frame dot await, and this comes from Macroquad. So let's add Macroquad prelude and star. So we have our basic game here. Now let's run this and see if the draw it's able to at least draw our UI, and then we'll add the controls. So in our console we'll just do cargo run quite, and there you go, the first look of our 2048 game. As you can see on load, the two numbers that are spawned, two tiles are spawned, and with 2 and 2, because the possibility of spawning 4 is pretty low if you remember from the code. So 2 and 2, and right now we cannot move much here. So basically our basic rendering works, our tiles logic works. Now all we have to do is add our controls, which is the arrow keys. So what happens when move down, up, right, left, and then we'll play our game. So let's get back to our text editor and complete our game. So back to our text editor, and let's move to game rs, and let's start adding our functions here, methods. So pub fn slide left, which is obviously to move left, and mutable self. So here what we are trying to do is slide. So for row in and mutable self board, let mutable merged vector and false board size initially assigned to false, and mute new row vector and initially tile as empty, and board size let mutable index as 0. So slide tiles to left, I in board size, if let tile number value row I, then if index is greater than 0 and new row index minus 1 is equals to tile number well and not merged index minus 1, then we'll just merge the tiles. So new row index minus 1 tile. So as we know, every merge will just multiply the number by 2 or add basically both the same. So we can simply do is value into 2 and merged index minus 1 is equals to true. So that's merged. And if that's not the case, then let's add else block, new row and index is equals to tile number well and index plus equals to 1. So that's basically doing the job of slide left for us and merging, and then we'll just do the copy here. So row dot copy from slice, and new row. That's just replacing, and that's our slide left. Actually, slide left doesn't need to be public. So once we have our slide left, let's add rotate clockwise. So just fn rotate clockwise. This is all just to, you know, get the game moving. And once we start playing, you guys can understand what all these moves that I'm trying to make here. New board and tile empty, board size, board size, for y in board size, for x in board size, new board of new board of x, board size -1 minus y is equals to self dot board yx. This is kind of similar to transpose functions in grid or matrix if you have worked with it while programming. So we have our clockwise rotation here, and then we just change the board with our new board. So that's for our rotate clockwise. And now we have to add our moves. So fn move, this needs to be public actually. Fn move left. When left is pressed, we just want to move left, which is self dot slide left and spawn tile. So that's basically move left. Similarly, we'll just move right. So pub fn move right and mutable self and self dot rotate clockwise, again self dot rotate clockwise and self dot slide left and self dot rotate clockwise, self dot rotate clockwise, and finally self dot spawn tile. Now here you guys might be wondering why this move left looks like this and move right looks like this. Now as you can see, our slide left already just does slide left and then spawn the tile. In move right, what we have done is first we have rotated to a 180-degree and then slide left, which would actually mean moving right, and then we have rotated it back clockwise 180, so it's again back to the same position, like back to the same way, and then we just spawn the tile. And now let's add similarly move up. Now here what we'll do is we'll rotate it 270, which is basically doing 3 clockwise rotations. So self dot rotate clockwise, self dot rotate clockwise, and self dot rotate clockwise, and then just slide left and then just turn back once to 90. So rotate clockwise and self dot spawn tile. That's as easy as it. So we don't need to write, you know, all the logics for specifically, just like we write for spawn, or sorry, slide left. We don't have to write for move up and move right. We can just rely on slide left, but we keep on rotating. So basically when we are going up, we are already in that direction by rotating it 270. Now finally is move down, and move down is exact opposite of move up, which is we'll just turn it once. So what we'll do is self dot rotate clockwise once, self dot slide left immediately, and then do 270 clockwise. So self dot rotate clockwise, self dot rotate clockwise, and self dot spawn tile. So 90-degree, and then slide left, and then rotate basically clockwise 3 times, and then spawn tile. As easy as that. So finally we have our all the moves and everything done. Let's just save it, and we have everything that we need. Let's move to main, and here we just add our movements. So if not game dot game over, if game is not over, then we just do if is key pressed and key code left. Then game dot move left, and if is key pressed, key code right, game dot move right. Everything that we have got is pretty nice, clean and efficient. And still, if you find any queries or you run into any problems, just feel free to leave in the comments or join our Discord. But it's pretty straightforward. It's just basic understanding of grids and you are good to go. Game dot move up, and finally we have if is key press, key code as down, game dot move down, and we have all that we need. So let's write it out. So once we have everything ready, let's just run this. So we'll just do cargo run quite. Here you go, the first look of our 2048 game. Nice and clean, our board, and initially 2 and 2 are spawned, and then we move. As you can see, as soon as we do any movement, I press up, we move up. I press right, we move right. I press down, we move bottom. And I press left, we move left. So let's keep on playing and keep on adding. So 8, and then it becomes 16, and 16 and again 8, and now it becomes 8 and 8 16, and so we just keep on playing. We are 32 now, so let's just press randomly so we can end the game and test the ending part as well. Okay, so here you go. Finally, we cannot move and we cannot generate any new tiles as well, so the game is over. Play it, share it with your friends, and let me know in the comments what do you guys think of Macroquad. By the way, I have shared in a previous video how can we build for iOS, so we can build this app for iOS and literally create a APK and play it on our iOS device as well. For this video, that's it. I'll catch you guys in another video with another interesting topic. Until then, thank you. Bye.